Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America. Dark Nights for Brighter Days by Simone Tuyell White is a concise and uplifting message of hope. Simone, a dedicated wife and mother who formerly worked as a nurse, now a stay-at-home mom. Dark Nights for Brighter Days is the story of her life experience. Different tests and trials, experiencing mental illness and setbacks. It's about her journey and different things she had to encounter, how her faith was tried, and how she overcame many obstacles. Simone Tuyell White, author of Dark Nights for Brighter Days, along with her husband, Anthony White, guest on This Week in America. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being with us today.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
This is really such an inspirational book, Simone, in telling your story and helping other people in the process. What inspired you to write Dark Nights for Brighter Days? Where did that inspiration come from?
It inspired me to write my book because I was going through different tests and trials and tribulations, and I knew behind what I was going through, I knew I was able to help someone. And I always wrote as a child. I always wanted to be a writer. And then one day, my former pastor had said it was some Maya Angelou's in the building. And I had told my husband I'd been wanting to write a book, but it's been like 9 years later. And then one day I was at a high school friend house, and she was like, if you ever write your book, you should name it Dark Nights for Brighter Days. And I wrote the book because I had many dark places, but God always brought me out through the light. And I wanted to let people know there is hope.
I love the title of that book. I love Dark Nights for Brighter Days. We all go through dark nights. You point out that things get a little better during the brightness of the next day. And I love the title, Dark Nights for Brighter Days. Anthony, in this process, what was it like as Simone was deciding whether to write the book or not, and then went through the process of writing it?
Oh, man, it was because when we first started off getting married, man, she encountered something happened then, as you know, concerning the mental. So right after our honeymoon for coming back, we had a storm. Like, she went into a clinical stage where I didn't know what to do. So I had to quickly start studying about mental illness, not be a stereotype of people, but just I didn't know a whole lot about it, and I had to study it, and just in that area of encountering it, but when she got herself well and came back, I call it bounce back, Mr. Bad. And when she got well, man, she just began to write. I mean, everything that she had, she included it in. Those nights she got up and wrote, I mean, the sweat and the tears that she put into this book, I knew that she had a purpose behind this.
It's amazing the motivation, Simone, that you had to write this. What do you hope readers take away? What do you hope from your story will help them get through their dark nights?
The end of pain is not over. In your brokenness, you still can do and go forth what you need to do. I want to give them hope. Let them know that joy, we may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Let them know that it's not a setback. It's a setup for God to bless us. And even in your dark place, that's a place where God can really speak to you and use you. And if we look at our life, look at it like Jesus when he went through on the cross.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that you know that recovery is every day. Talk about that aspect of it. It's not like I crossed the finish line, I don't ever have to worry about this again. It's something what you deal with on an ongoing basis?
Yes, because every day is not going to be perfect. You have some up days, some down days, some days where you feel sad and hope. But in those days, when day go by day, you can look at the good outweigh the bad. And like recovery is every day, because sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I may not feel joy. I may not feel happy. I may feel like I'm down. But as the day go by, I encourage myself and I cut on music to kind of help me through the day and read my Bible. And, every day is not going to be perfect, but just take one day at a time. You can make it.
That's interesting.
And then also, I'm sorry, Ms. Bannon.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony,
also,
please.
We had learned in our marriage of 12 years, we had learned that forget about tomorrow. Let's work on the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day. So we don't let the yesterday interject with our next day of what we can do. together, or her feeling better the next day.
You know, that's interesting. Anthony is a pastor. He just formed his own church, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you deal with people and their problems. How often do we spend most of the day, a large part of the day, looking over our shoulder at yesterday? Sometimes we get caught up in yesterday, don't we? And we can't see forward.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. With me and you know what happened when my purpose of my call of being a pastor, we interject just seeing hurt people. And my wife, she also said, look, I use this book, I use whatever I got to not just let people know that even if you're in the mud, you can get out of the mud. And there is help in that quicksand. So we just brought our life experience, what we went through and what we're still going through every day. But knowing that, as my wife said, there is hope. Holding on to something that works.
You know, that's why I think the book is resonating so well. This is not a guidance counselor. This is not a professional that's talking and does not experience what you went through. You went through the real thing and you came out of it and you're helping others. This is real. Dark Nights for Brighter Days, that talks about Simone's life and what she went through. Simone, when you went back and you wrote this, what's the most rewarding aspect for you? What really puts a smile on your face when you hear about the book?
What really put a smile on my face when I wrote the book is when I can hear others say, I helped them, or there is hope. It's rewarding because it's not about me. I want to be able to let the people know that got mental illness, that, you know, it's not over. You know, you got hope. There's joy. There's peace. There's happiness. It's rewarding because when somebody come back and tell me your book helped me, it encouraged me to let me know that God heard me and I'm able to encourage someone else.
Let me ask the other side of that. What was the most difficult part of this book to write, or parts of this book? The one thing that people read in the reviews I'm seeing is they love your honesty. They can relate to the honesty, but sometimes honesty can come with opening up yourself and maybe second doubts about how personal you want to be. What was the most challenging part of this for you? And in being that open so you're effective with your message?
The most challenging part was at night when I normally wrote my book during the night when everybody's asleep, that is more quiet. The most challenging part was it was pain in writing my book. It was tears in writing my book because I wanted to forget what I went through, and I thank God because in writing my book, I spent time with just letting people know that whatever you go through is not a bad thing. You know, some people stereotype mental illness, but everybody goes through something mentally. But the most part was when I wanted to forget what I went through because people was talking about me, saying I was evil, saying I was crazy, and I just cried. I said, God, while writing this book, maybe to help somebody through their hill and let them know that, you know, recovery is every day, and you can make it through. You can make it through God.
Anthony, what was this like for you as Simone is going through this? And some of these were dark periods that she's reliving so she can be honest and tell her story. What was it like to see her going through all of this, and how important was the support that you offered?
Well, I can go back and like I said, when we first got married, just, you know, when we got back from our honeymoon, it was just something clinical that happened, and I couldn't do nothing about it. And then I didn't know what support did I have or who did I have to reach out to, and just to see her go into the hospital for this long amount of time. But I got with her former pastor, she had mentioned, I think she had at least about eight or nine setbacks before I got in her life. I went to pick her up. Excuse me about it. It's really touching. I went to pick her up. Nobody knows. I mean, I went to pick her up. I had nothing but just knowing that this is the beautiful girl that, you know, young lady that I married. Yes. But when I went to pick her up from this mental institution with and I'm like, how did we get here? But going home, I let her know that this city will never see you like that again. And we've been married for 12 years. In that 12 years, I can at least think of one missed setback that she had. She only needed support. Yes.
That's amazing how you were able to turn around from those very difficult circumstances. Our guest on the program, Simone Tuyell White. That's Simone, Simone, if you're Googling, Tuyell, Tuyell White, along with her husband, Anthony White. And we're talking about the book, Dark Nights for Brighter Days. Simone, let's talk about the Christian aspect of that, the Christian walk that you went through. How did that help you get through these difficult periods, and how did it help you open up and spread your message to others?
My Christian walk is everything to me. My life depends on Jesus. I just thank God because while writing this book, I said, Lord, I can inspire somebody to let them know that, that even you going through mental illness or whatever situation you may going through, you can count on Jesus and cast your cares upon him, for he cared for us. And writing this book, it just let me know that that the woman that God said I am, I'm a royal priesthood, a chosen generation. I'm a virtuous woman. So writing this book, I was encouraged, and I knew that I would be able to help somebody. Not only the help somebody through mental illness or different setbacks or depression or oppression. Let them know that Jesus is the one that brought me through. Without him, I wouldn't have nothing. Even when I was in a mental institution, when I was in there by myself, I would pray, fall on my knees and pray and cry out to God. Even in my darkest moment, it seemed like it was most of my happiest moment with God, because I looked at it as in him being on the cross. I said, Lord, if you was on the cross and you went through all this crucifixion, I know I can go through and tell somebody that you still can bring them out, and there's hope in you. And even when you feel like giving up, it seemed like, even when I felt like giving up, it seemed like something on the inside was telling me, just hold on a little while longer. And I just thank God, because it wasn't a setback. It was set up to bless me, to be able to speak to others and encourage them, let them know there is hope.
Anthony, what has this done for you, knowing where Simone has come from, what she's had to go through, where she is today, her willingness to help other people? How has that helped you as an individual person as well as a minister?
I don't look at now. I don't look at, even with my wife or anybody that faces these situations, I don't look at it like, oh, okay, this is the person. Even though she might have went through different areas, this is not the person. And then I also learned going forward in our ministry and different things, even in our house, like, I can't make my voice the loudest. Her voice had to be the loudest, because I have to make sure that I understand her and see how she feels. That's that everyday, including with the everyday recovery. How are you feeling today? I mean, I know that we can talk about things, but is this a better day for you? And going into our ministry, we just took it and just helping people in the outreach, knocking on doors, just letting people know. And she had also, with her, I spilled earlier about her book, she also was able to pass some books out to different ones that let them know that in the book is my life story. And if he brought me out, he can bring you out too as well.
Very interesting how that has impacted your life in a positive way. I mentioned Anthony and Simone, you just started this church. Talk about this, and this has to be moments of excitement, moments of anxiety as you're putting everything together. Give us the name of the church location, and why did you decide to do this?
Harvest Ministry of Deliverance, 200 West Jackson Street, Franklin, Virginia, 23851.
Perfect.
My husband, he was already a minister. When we got married, I went to his church, and later down the years, his pastor ordained him as a minister. So as we began to stay at church and listen to the word of God, God called us out. We started on the streets. In North Carolina, we'll go out and preach the word on the highways and the byways. Yeah. And then later down the road, probably about maybe 6 to 7 months later, the Lord called us to start our ministry in our home. We started in our home. It was days where I was looking at my husband. He kept standing chairs up, moving the furniture. I said, Lord have mercy. What in the world is going on here? And at the time, wasn't nobody there. We would preach. We'd get on Facebook. We would preach the word of God. It's like nothing could stop him. Nothing could stop him. It was just like, he was just like Nehemiah. He was building. And I kept saying, ain't nobody here yet. But then all of a sudden, we had a fish fry, fishing for Jesus. And we went out and two members, well, actually 4 members, had joined our church. And then after being in the house for a little while, then my husband got ordained as an elder, as a pastor. And then probably about 3 months later, we started in our own church in Franklin. I tell you, it was exciting. It was actually the best time of my life. I was so excited because I was actually working for Jesus.
Yeah.
And it was.
I learned that also two things. I learned that in your brokenness, you still can be used. We were literally broke. We were not as in financially, but the brokenness of our life. Yes. We were literally broke. She walked into my church. She walked into her day-to-day experience of people still knowing that this is the person that ran in the street that didn't know her name and or was walling in the mud because she was scared of the night. This is her. But now to see that she was broke, but what's broke can be put back together. That's one thing that we bring to our ministry. Yes. Even if it's broke, you got to get those pieces and put them together. No matter where they scramble at, just get those pieces together and put them together. Because he's not going to just, well, I'm not just saying he'll do it for you, but he did it for us. He did it for us.
These have to be exciting times. So often when we hear about churches now, it's the mega church. They got 20,000, they got 30,000 people. You're right there at the ground level, aren't you? Where when you have people in your house, you really can interact with them. You can't really interact that way with 12,000 people. Talk about the benefits of a smaller congregation, and certainly it will grow, but where you actually know everybody by their names and you can openly talk with them. How important is that?
Yeah, and this is again is why my mom, I'm sorry, my wife, she wanted to be a stay-home mom, and we're doing great with that. But this is the thing, she will be able to get that phone call. We'll always have that one-on-one connection. Because the scripture says that Jesus was speaking a parable about a shepherd that lost one sheep out of 99. So he had 100 in all, but he lost one. But he was so concerned and worried about that one. So in our ministry, we incorporated just reach one. The next day, reach another one. Next day, reach another one. We don't need 10,000. We just need that one. And
really making an impact. The book is Dark Nights for Brighter Days. Our guest, Simone Tuyell White, and her husband, Anthony White. Time is going by so quickly. Simone, let's make sure we talk about what happens. I'm sure there are people that are watching, listening, that are experiencing dark nights. What would you say to them to get them through that worked for you?
What works for me was prayer and inspiration music and the support. And it's okay to let someone know that, hey, I'm depressed, I need help. And when I first experienced mental illness, I was ashamed. But now I don't have to be ashamed because Jesus is not ashamed of me. So I will be able to help them, letting them know that, even when you fear, God will give you joy. Even when you feel like you losing hope, he will give you peace. I will let them know, just pray and keep your faith in God. And I'll be able to encourage someone, let them know it's okay to lean on me. As the song said, lean on me. It's okay to lean on someone. It's okay to let someone know that, hey, I need help. And without people stereotype them, without people being lack of knowledge and knowing what mental illness is about, and that I don't care what it takes, I'm going to let my voice be spoken, let people know that it's not over. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning, and that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And I believe that even when I was going through my tests and trials, I believe that it wasn't about me. It was all about Jesus, and for me to help someone else and letting them know, hey, it's not over. It's not over until God says it's over.
You talk in your book in the beginning about your great-grandmother. Talk about her and the impact she had on your life and this love for nursing that you have.
Well, my great-grandma, ever since I have known her, she had always been saved. Well, she was saved, and she would always sing hymns. She was a Christian. She would pray. It was times where I would be knocking on her door, Grandma, I thought something had happened to her, like she had died or something. But I could hear her on her knees praying. And she was in her 80s then. And it was like every time I would go to her when I was going through different things in life, setbacks or someone relationship wise, or my father not being there, or just different things that I would go through, she would always tell me to pray. And I would hear her say, Lord, wrap your loving arms around me, wrap your loving arms around my family. She was a humble woman. She didn't talk a lot. I remember one time when my aunt had a stroke, and the doctors had gave up on her and told her that she was going to be a vegetable. And I will never forget, she called the 1-800 number. She called TBN, and Pat Robinson had prayer with her. And my grandma got off the phone, and she got her anointed oil, and she said, Lord, heal my family. And for seeing my grandma in that life and seeing the life that she lived, I knew, and God answered her prayer, I knew that God can answer my prayer and that my book would be a bestseller or be able to help somebody get through.
Well, and it is. The book is Dark Nights and Brighter Days. What would you say, Simone, and then I'll ask Anthony the same thing from a little different perspective. But Simone, if someone is like, I don't think I can share my story, talk to them about why it's so important to share that. Maybe they're on the brink of doing it, but you're very vulnerable if you expose yourself like that. What would you say to somebody who's reluctant to share their story as you have done?
I would tell them it's okay to share your story, because sometimes we have to vent, not to everyone, but vent to people that you know that's gonna show you or give you encouragement. Sometimes we need to let go and let God. Sometimes when we hold things in, we hold it in, it causes different problems. But I would tell them, it's okay. It's okay to tell your story, because your story might be the next person that need to hear. Your story might be the next, somebody may be wanting to commit suicide, but by you sharing your story, let them know how God brought it out. It let them know, hey, I don't have to commit suicide. I don't have to commit suicide. Or I don't have to do things that I shouldn't do. Or sometimes you may hear people say, I don't want to live no more. I don't have nothing to live for. And let them know you do have something to live for, because there is a brighter day. And in your brokenness, God still can use you.
And Anthony, from your standpoint, a minister, how important is your role in listening? And talk to somebody who's maybe on the fence of sharing the story, and they're like, it's a stranger. I don't know if I want to go in there and tell my story. You can't help them unless you know their story, right?
That's correct. And that's why I was saying earlier about their voice have to be louder than mine. I'm the minister. I am almost a counselor in spiritual realm, that your voice means the most right now, not mine. I want to hear what you're saying, because I remember even with my wife in that area of the clinical part, the night was just fearful, paranoia. I mean, it was just so fearful, not wanting me to be with close to her or support her. She didn't even want me around. It was like she was scared of me. And that was a part. But she told me, she said, I will get through this. I'll never forget that, Mr. Batten. I will get through this in the morning. I will get through this in the morning. And just to let that person know that need to be encouraged, that just get through this moment. Don't speak about what your moment, and your voice matter. Don't worry about what happened then or in your situation. This one, speaking about my situation, but try to encourage yourself and try to speak that I can get through this. And just being the voice, it matters. It matters right now. It really does. It really does.
It's a very powerful message, a very powerful book, Dark Nights for Brighter Days, and we all go through dark nights. And I love the title of that, Dark Nights for Brighter Days. You read that and all of us can relate to it from some different aspect. Simone, what's next for you now? I understand you're an accomplished poet as well. What are you working on, something else?
Yes, I'm actually working on another book. I'm going to continue to encourage people. I'm going to continue to tell them about the word of God. And I'm going to trust God for my next step. And I believe one day I'm going to be able to be a bestseller. I'm going to write many, many, many books. But if I never read another book, my life is a story. Yeah.
And it's touching people. And Anthony, the video, by the way, this is up on YouTube. If you go to our website, you can pull up the video and see it as well. You've been very supportive, smiling throughout. It has to be quite proud, a moment for you to see Simone and her book and able to help people.
I mean, even in that time when she didn't want to write anymore, I never said that when your book, and she always told me, I got to write today. I got to write today. So with me not wanting her to be stressed or worried, her strength was in her writing. Her strength was in her writing. Her heart was in her writing. Her peace was in her writing. So when she got up and wrote, she never let those pages that she couldn't get to then just get away.
Yes.
Like where they at. She kept it. So this book that she's writing now is it's going to be unraw, pour it and all. She was just going to give it all out there.
My uncut story.
Her uncut story, yeah, because what we went through together, it just wasn't in this one book. This is a lifetime book that she had.
Well, we will look forward to that and hopefully have a chance to talk about it. We wish you success with the church and being able to touch people on a one-to-one basis. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
King Pages Press has been Simone's marketing consultant. They're results-oriented, making sure your work gets the attention it truly deserves. KingPagesPress.com. Simone, Anthony, thank you both so much for joining us on the program. Congratulations on a job well done in getting this message out there and being able to help other people. I can't think of anything more rewarding than knowing you might have saved that person from making a real bad decision, including taking their own life. But your story has helped them get back, and I appreciate you being with us. Again, the name of the book is Dark Nights for Brighter Days. Simone Tuyell White, along with her husband Anthony White, our guest on today's program. You're listening to This Week in America, and we are back on today's program right after this.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.